First casualty in the Republican presidential field. It's the first of what will be many casualties. The only question is, will this cause a cascade, or is it going to take a while? And the second thing is that we have yet another Republican learning to double down and not cave to the demands of the politically correct, and that is Dr. Ben Carson. Greetings, my friends. And welcome. It's great to have you here. I'm Rush Limbaugh, and it's behind the golden EIB microphone. 800-282-2882 is the number. If you want to be on the program, the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't keep anything from you people. And I got up today, and I started going through this stuff, and everything I look at, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. And the don't care stack is about 90% of what I have today. Don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. Been there, done that, been there, done that. Don't care, don't care. So today, I'm going to be working rather than just coming in here and letting it flow. And no, it's not any particular thing out there. I don't know if it's just an attitude, if it's a mood. I don't have periods, so it's not that. I'm just trying to come up with every possible explanation to answer all of the questions that people probably firing at me. Second casualty, that's right, Rick Perry dropped out. Rick Perry dropped out. Scott Walker is the second casualty, and there are all kinds of stories out there explaining it today. There are, no matter where you look, there are as many different explanations or theories for why Scott Walker got out. I'll tell you what the conventional wisdom is becoming. As I go through all of these various stories, it appears that the primary theme is Scott Walker's a nice guy, and nobody wants to dump on him. So they're praising him for doing the mature thing. And they're really praising him for doing the mature thing that is aimed at getting Trump out. And that's why he's being praised. He's being praised for seeing reality. He's being praised for not continuing a pointless endeavor. And he's trying to take the example of what has happened to him and turn it around and build up the party and make sure it does not go to Trump. And so he is getting praise from all over the Republican establishment. He's getting praise in many parts of the drive-by media. And there's also some stories talking about he was out of his field and out of his class, and he didn't realize what he was up against. They had bad advisors. The usual run-of-the-mill stuff when somebody gets out of the race. I've only seen one story that gets it right. Only one. There may be more, but I've only seen one story that explains what happened here. And I will leave that to everybody else to find. It's simply out there on its own, one place. And as I say, there may be, actually, now there are two. I've just been informed. So we'll get to that as the program unfolds. But that pretty much covers it, actually, in the sense that people are analyzing why. But the fact that he hasn't succeeded here, and because of the message that he delivered when he pulled out of the campaign, it's being analyzed as a call to action for the party to unify and get Trump out of this mix in order to save the party, for the good of the party, and to have any chance of winning the White House. And for that, he's being embraced, receiving accolades from many places in the drive-by media. He didn't get any accolades during his actual campaign. And we have audio soundbite support to demonstrate all of this as the program unfolds. Now, Ben Carson, this is what's happening here with Ben Carson is exactly one of the things that I was hoping would happen to the rest of the field with Trump in the race. What Trump is doing, shining a light on how things can happen. Now, you don't have to cave. You don't have to be afraid. You can double down. You do not have to cave to the demands of political correctness. You can fight it. Carson has apparently, I don't want to say learned the lesson, but he's seen the value in it. And I think Donald Trump's no apologies responses to all these ginned-up media controversies are becoming contagious, at least as it relates to Dr. Carson. We have Dr. Carson refusing to apologize for what I thought were highly sensible remarks in which he said he would not advocate a devout Muslim who supports Sharia law to be president. I don't even think it requires any defense. But, of course, in 2015 America, it does, because the forces of political correctness simply cannot comprehend a statement like that. And they immediately conclude that somebody makes a statement like that, they are toast, and they deserve to be toast. And Carson is standing his ground. And he has this image of soft-spoken, certainly not steel-fisted tough, but he's demonstrating that that is exactly what he is when necessary. And I think it's an upper. I think it's a positive. It's an amazing phenomenon to actually see Republicans doubling down rather than apologizing, rather than backing off, rather than caving, rather than clarifying, rather than trying to do damage control. Outside of Trump, we're not seeing this kind of behavior. You might say Huckabee on the Kim Davis case. You might say Huckabee, but we're talking about here the upper tier of candidates. Oh, that's another thing floating around out there. I've seen this 2 or 3 different places, and it's within not just the establishment of the Republican Party, but there are also some, I guess what you would call conservatives who ascribe to it, that the polls are dead wrong. The polls haven't been right in a couple of cycles now, and Trump's not leading at 24%. He's nowhere, he never has been in the lead. This is what people are thinking. This is what some people are saying. You can't trust the polls, and it's all going to even out at some point. And it's not at all in reality the way we think it is based on polls. Now, I don't know why people resort to that. I used to do that. I think some of these people are now analyzing this are wrong. I remember the 2012 presidential campaign. I didn't believe the polls. They had Romney losing by 6, Romney losing by 5. I said, this can't be true. I said, look at the midterm turnout in 2010. Look at that. How in the world can you ignore the 2010 turnout? How can you, when you're polling for 2012, how can you ignore that turnout in your polling sample and only go back and get the same kind of sample you got in 2008? And he said, well, the reason we do that, Mr. Limbaugh, we polling companies, is because midterm turnouts are totally different than presidential year turnouts, and we can't conflate the two. We can't start mixing the two together. And I just looked at all the anecdotal evidence, and I looked at all the stuff I was seeing on television and all the things I was hearing negatives about Obama, and I thought these polls that showed Romney losing by 5 points were dead wrong. And, of course, you had Dick Morris on TV basically making similar points. And then, I saw the exit poll starting at 5 o'clock, and I knew it was over. So since then, I have not discounted what polling data says. And some people are beginning to do that now in order to explain a Republican field that they don't like. And I think it's dangerous ground when you start running. The polls aren't right. They never have, but yes, they have been right. They were right in 2012. It's a mistake to tell yourself that the polls are wrong. Universally wrong. Some of them are. But on balance, the 2012, that's just the last presidential election, had it right on the money. And we're all sitting here thinking they had it wrong. So this theory goes on that Trump is nowhere near the lead, and neither is Fiorina. These are just momentary snapshots. And that what really is going to end up happening here, it's going to end up being a race between establishment candidates and one conservative candidate, none unnamed. The conservative candidate has yet to be analyzed or identified in this theory. One of the theories holds that it's going to be Ted Cruz. Now, if Ted Cruz is at 7% right now, so you must really believe the polls are wrong, dramatically wrong, if you believe at the end of this process it's going to be Cruz. I would not be upset with it. Do not misunderstand anything here. But back to Dr. Carson. Dr. Carson, in his soft-spoken way, is proving to be a man of steel. And it really is a pleasure to see this. You know, I know that it will never happen. But someone in the drive-by media ought to start asking all of these Democrat candidates whether they would support a candidate who believes in Sharia law over the U.S. Constitution. Put the onus back on them. This is another attempt, just like yesterday, to embarrass another Republican, to expose another Republican as a bigot or whatever. And by the way, this that's happening is why so many people got so upset at the first presidential debate and the questions being asked. It's why people said, my God, it sounds just like the questions the liberal media asks. So Dr. Carson says what he says. It was perfectly clear. Yes, you agree with what Dr. Carson said. Are you also as bigoted as Dr. Carson? Do you also discriminate against Muslims? And that's what the effort is. And yet the same question would not even be asked of Democrat candidates. Could you support a devout Muslim candidate who puts Sharia law over the U.S. Constitution? They should also ask Democrats if they're okay with a president who believes in Sharia law. Are they comfortable with having a majority in Congress who believe in Sharia law? Let's not stop at the White House. If we're going to start talking about whether or not we should have a Muslim president, let's explain what that is, and let's include Sharia law in it, and let's ask if we want a Sharia law majority in the House or in the Senate. And if not, why not? Ask the Democrats these questions. Now, the media isn't going to do that. So somehow our people have to find a way to reverse this and turn it around on these people. I would even be throwing it right back at the media, who's trying to make hay out of this. The thing is, if the Democrats thought it might get them more voters, or the lunatic fringe, who knows what they would stand for? I think that's the bottom line for Democrats. They don't. Isn't it demonstrably true now that the Democrats don't care? As long as they can get the majority of votes, they don't care how they do it, and they don't care what becomes of the country in the process. Bottom line question is this. Is Sharia law consistent with the United States Constitution? Now, of course it isn't, but that is the bottom line question. Sharia law is not even consistent with the First Amendment. You cannot have both side by side. Something has to give. If you have someone who believes in the superiority or the prominence of Sharia law, that it's bye-bye First Amendment, bye-bye Bill of Rights, the Constitution doesn't matter either. That's the way this needs to be framed, and that is why Dr. Carson said what he said. He's obviously a tough guy. He didn't back off his comments to Obama about Obamacare either. Remember when the first thing that happened, when the thing that happened that put him on the map, he's at the National Prayer Breakfast, and he openly tells Obama what he thinks of Obamacare and how he would fix it. And here came the double-barrel shots from the drive-by media in the White House, and he didn't back down from that either. Even after he was audited. They audited him after that. The IRS did. And he hasn't backed down to any of it. So don't be fooled by any of this soft-spokenness. Anyway, let's take our first obscene prophet time out of the day. We'll do that. We'll come back and get into audio sound bites, Dr. Carson, last night and today about this so you can hear for yourself if you haven't already. Okay, we'll start here with media incredulity over Ben Carson not being harmed by his comments that he would not support a Sharia law Muslim for president of the United States. The media thought, and they still believe, that when any Republican says anything like this, that they can take them out. Wipe them out, destroy them, certainly destroy their campaign. If they're lucky, they can destroy their political future, and if they really hit the grand slam, they can destroy their life. And they really thought, they really believed that Ben Carson stepped in it so bad that it was over for him. All they had to do was spread the news. It turns out that all the immediate measurements, Twitter, Facebook, flash overnight internet polls, show Ben Carson increasing his popularity after the comment. And once again, it's rooted in the drive-by media. I don't know if they know this or if they're deluded. I don't know if they really think that their brand of thinking is the majority of thought in the country or not. They act like it's the majority of thought. It's a technique. Drive-bys, when they report any outrage over anything a conservative or a Republican does, they act like the whole country is also outraged. Not just the whole country, that conservatives are maybe 1% of the population. And then they find out that they're nowhere near correct in that assessment. So I wonder if they know it and are just delusional, or if they realize it and are using this as a tactic and technique to make it look like they're the majority when they know full well they're not. In the end, I guess it doesn't matter. But here's an example. Allison Camaradas on CNN's New Day today reporting on Carson's support, increased support, since his remarks that he would not support a Sharia law devout Muslim for president.
Ben Carson, since he made his comments about he would never support a Muslim for a president, his fundraising has gone up. He's gotten more dollars, and his Facebook followers, his social media people, it's not just like it's gone viral. It's like he's gotten more support, more likes, more followers. It's working.
Can't believe it. He's got more support. He got more likes. He got more followers. It's working. And here is Tom Yamas, who is the ABC Good Morning America correspondent, talking about all of this.
Dr. Ben Carson says his comments were not that controversial. The reason why? Right after he said them on Sunday morning, his Facebook page went up by more than 100,000 likes. George?
That's one piece of evidence.
Yeah, one piece of evidence. But we're not going to put any stock in that. 100,000 likes on Facebook, screw that. That's just a bunch of chump change. That's one piece of evidence, but we're still not buying it. Stephanopoulos, of course, continuing in his role as a Democrat candidate political operative disguised as a journalist over at ABC. Here's Dr. Carson himself in Sharonville, Ohio. Press conference during the Q&A. Reporter said, "You said that you would support a moderate Muslim candidate. Would that also apply to a Mormon?"
I said I would support anyone. Again, it seems to be hard for people to actually hear English and understand it. I said I would support anyone, regardless of their background, if in fact they embrace American values and our Constitution and are willing to place that above their beliefs.
Hey, folks, this is not weird or odd. You mentioned this yesterday. How many of you people remember the countless times Democrats and members of the media have spoken out against the idea that we might elect an evangelical Christian as president? We can't have that. We can't have those kinds of views in the White House. We can't have these people, they get in the White House, they start imposing their religious views on everybody. We can't have that. I mean, this was a constant refrain in the 70s and 80s. Hell, even the early part of the 90s. Pat Robertson, somebody else with close ties to evangelical Christians would seek office. It didn't matter if it was the presidency. And here would come the media, here would come the Democrat part. We can't have theocrats in office. We can't have deeply devout religious people. Why, that would be untenable. But now, as long as it's not Christians, any other religion, fine and dandy. Want to elect a Muslim president? Damn straight, fine and dandy. We're an open-ended, open-minded society. Keep the Christians out of here, but Muslim, fine and dandy. People have forgotten the bigotry and discrimination that was on parade constantly from the Democrat Party and the media. I have to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. There isn't enough time to get the next Dr. Carson soundbite. And we've got this and actually a total of 3 more from last night and today as Carson addresses this. Sit tight. We're coming back. Your phone calls are coming up soon as well. Be right back, folks. And we're back. Rush Limbaugh serving humanity just by being here. Back to the Dr. Carson soundbites this morning. Sharonville, Ohio, at a press conference. Q&A. Another reporter. Dr. Carson, this is something that is now defining your campaign. People are seeing you as being anti-Muslim with your statements. How do you fix that? How do you come back from this perception that we are trying to destroy you?
The only way we fix that is fix the PC culture in our country, which only can listen to one narrative. And if it doesn't fit their philosophy, then they have to try to ascribe some motive to it to make it fit. The PC culture says whenever you're asked a question, it has to be answered in a certain way. And if you don't answer it that way, then let's attack. And let's not try to actually understand what a person's saying. Let's just attack. And hopefully everybody else will look at that and they will realize they're never supposed to say something like that again. That's what the PC culture is.
Okay, now that took him 43 seconds. Dr. Carson does not speak in sound bites. That's another one of the differences in his candidacy and others. Professional politicians, you just learn it over time. Sound bites are the name of the game. You've got to be able to say something pithy, even if it may represent your views or it may not. But in order to stand out and get noticed, you've got to be able to say something. You can't shout to get noticed. Look at a debate stage. You get 11 people up there. Shouting would not get you noticed. It's what you say. Even if the moderators don't come to you, they're giving other candidates far more time than they're giving you. So what do you do in that circumstance? Well, when they do come to you, you have to make it count. And Dr. Carson is used to long, detailed, almost stream of consciousness explanations and answers to questions. And what you just heard here was him attempting to define political correctness for this reporter, who knows damn well what it is. Dr. Carson, this is something he's now defining your campaign. People are seeing you as being anti-Muslim with you. No, they're not. They're seeing the media try to portray him as anti-Muslim. It's a big difference. How do you fix that? How do you fix what we are doing to you, Dr. Carson? That's the real question. How do you stop us from ruining you, Dr. Carson? That's what the question really is. Dr. Carson, how are you going to stop us from mischaracterizing what you're saying? How do you come back from this perception that we've created about you, that you're a bigot? And his answer was an attempt to explain how we fix the PC culture. He went on to try to define it. Now, last night, he shows up on Fox News with Hannity, and he was asked if he stands by the comments that he made originally.
Absolutely, I stand by the comments. What we have to do is we have to recognize that this is America, and we have a Constitution, and we do not put people at the leadership of our country whose faith might interfere with them carrying out the duties of the Constitution. So if, for instance, you believe in a theocracy, I don't care if you're a Christian. If you're a Christian and you're running for president and you want to make this into a theocracy, I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to advocate you being the president.
That's what he said originally. This is the clarification, explanation, definition of what he said. Shouldn't be necessary, but the media made it necessary. They knew what he was saying. Everybody did. They just tried to pigeonhole him. They just, it's open season on Republicans and taking them out. And you get them as you can. And they think that Carson stepped in it and gave them a huge target. But he's standing by his guns. This is what I mean. He's doubling down. He is not backing off of this at all. He's not doing the usual Republican thing of asking for forgiveness, a chance to rephrase it, That isn't me. I heard myself say that, and the minute I was saying, I realized that wasn't me. That's what usually happens, but he's doubling down on it and further explaining what he means. So this the next question. I spoke with Dr. Zudi Josher today. He's a moderate Muslim, and I asked him if he could name a single Muslim country that treats women the way we treat minorities in this country. He couldn't name a single one. Was that what you were thinking in your mind when you were answering the question? In other words, the way Muslim theocracies currently operate?
That's correct. They currently do not tend to operate the same way that our system does. Now, if someone has a Muslim background and they're willing to reject those tenets and to accept the way of life that we have, and clearly will swear to place our Constitution above their religion, then, of course, they will be considered infidels and heretics, but at least I would then be quite willing to support them.
Now, you'd have another question you'd have to ask, though. I mean, let's take a scenario. So you've got a devout Muslim who comes along and wants to be elected president or to high federal office, is going to take an oath of office to defend and protect the Constitution, and therefore swears to subordinate Sharia law to the U.S. Constitution. Do you believe them? I mean, it becomes then an article of faith. It's a toughie. I think all this is absurd, folks. This is, one of the, I told you at the beginning of the program, I'm getting up today and I'm going through the show prep, stack after stack, piece of paper, don't care. One of the reasons I don't care, I can't believe we're even talking about half the stuff we're talking about. It's just absurd that this is an issue. It's absurd that it's even a question. I mean, we're behaving as though 9/11 didn't happen. 9/11 did happen. 3,000 Americans are dead. What, we're going to make an excuse now that, well, you can't base anything on that? I just find it all absurd. And it's approaching the point here of futility to me. But at least Dr. Carson stood his ground and is not backing down and is picking up support in the process. And let's not forget where all of this anti-Muslim rhetoric actually began as far as it relates to Obama. The Republican Party is not responsible for this one either. It was Hillary Clinton in the 2007 Democrat primary campaign that actually started questioning whether or not Obama's a Muslim. And then she was asked about it some years later, Steve Croft. You seriously don't think the president's a Muslim? Well, no, not as far as I know. No, I don't. Somehow Mrs. Clinton's escaping any culpability or any attachment. In fact, it came up last night on CNN, the lead with Jake Tapper, speaking with Dana Bash, the chief political co-respondent. Tapper said, Donald Trump reminds us that some of these Obama's a Muslim rumors were started by people who were supporting or working for Hillary all the way back in 2008.
There were some stories citing Clinton researchers or associates back then saying that President Obama, or then Barack Obama, was a Muslim, even that he went to a madrasa, which is a Muslim school, when he was a kid living in Indonesia. I remember when CNN's John Voss went to Jakarta to investigate that, and it turns out the school never had any religious curriculum. But even Hillary Clinton herself sowed some doubt back in 2008 during a 60 Minutes interview, saying she didn't think Obama was a Muslim then, but she added, not that I know of.
Yeah, it's even worse than that, what Mrs. Clinton was doing. She's the one that raised all this. Why she was asked about it. She was the one that was talking about it. She's the one that raised it. The Democrat primary campaign in 2007 was particularly vicious. People don't remember it now because they papered it over and made Hillary Secretary of State, but it was particularly vicious with charges of the race card being thrown around. Bill Clinton was out there having a drink, an adult beverage with Ted Kennedy. And Clinton is on record as having said to Ted Kennedy, Ted, this guy Obama, back in times made sense that this guy'd be the guy getting our coffee first, Ted. You know it and I know it. Well, Obama hears about that, starts throwing the race card around as Clinton's campaigning in South Carolina. it was vicious. All this Muslim stuff. And then it was the Democrats that came up with this whole magic Negro thing, talking about whether or not Obama was an authentic American, African-American, and so forth. And yet here we are. It's always the Republicans that somehow get tarred and feathered with this stuff when it's patently absurd. All right, I got to take a brief time out. We'll come back and get started with phones right after this. El Rushmore at 800-282-2882. Hang in there. And on the phones, we start in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. This is Barb. Thank you for waiting, and welcome to the program, Barb. Hi.
Hello, Rush. I am kind of angry at you, but I would like to say first, I really am a true Rush fan. I'm a true conservative. I was chairman of our county party. Most of all, I am so proud I'm the mother of 2 Rush babies.
Wow.
Yes, very proud of them, ages 26 and 23. And they listen to you whenever they can.
Are they still conservative, even they grew up and they did not rebel?
They did not rebel. My daughter went to Madison to college. She joined the Young Republicans because of you. My son went to college at Whitewater, and he also worked with the college Republicans, and they love you.
Well,
so I did a good job, real good job. I'm very proud of them. They never rebelled.
I am deeply moved.
Yes, and I am grateful. I have listened to you and loved you for 26 years. I never thought I'd be calling you.
But you're
in
mad
anger.
at me. You're mad at me.
Oh, am I mad at you? I want to know why, after all this time, trying to get a real solid, proven conservative as president, would you ignore the real deal and help prop up a fake, phony conservative that would be the Kardashian candidate, Donald Trump? And the real deal was Scott Walker.
Wait. Let me make sure I understand this. You are upset with me that Scott Walker has dropped out of the race? You think I abandoned Scott Walker for Trump?
Yes, and you did. And you loved Scott Walker for a while there. And then all you did was prop up Trump for how long now? We started calling you the Trump Show. And Trump only bashes other Republicans.
Who is this we started calling?
Oh, my family.
Oh.
My kids will listen to you when they can on their lunch break and everything, you know.
Well, look.
We started calling you the Trump Show. Trump only bashes other Republicans. His shots at Democrats are tepid. He's anti-gun, pro-choice, pro-universal health care. And the only way the wildebeest can win is by dividing the Republicans. And I can see her saying, wow, this Trump thing is going to work out great.
We need to put this in a context, in a chronological order. You say that I abandoned Scott Walker for Trump. I think I was one of the early and loudest voices for Scott Walker for months, maybe even a year or longer, even before presidential politics.
That is true.
I thought what Scott Walker did in Wisconsin was a blueprint. I don't need to repeat. I mean, I don't want to be redundant here, but I've said all of this. I was one of his most ardent supporters of what he had done in Wisconsin and how he had done it, and I thought that it was a blueprint on how to defeat the left. I noticed something. There's nothing to do with Trump here. One thing I know, and I even asked him about this. I've interviewed him twice, Barb, for my newsletter, and I've asked him twice, and he was a good soldier about it. He never seemed to get any support from the RNC or the Republican establishment in Washington, either in his campaigns for re-election and recall in Wisconsin or in his presidential race.
Oh boy, yeah, that is true. I think the establishment might not like him because he wouldn't toe their line.
Well, maybe, yeah, but it was almost like the same thing happened to the governor of Virginia, the candidate for governor, Ken Cuccinelli. Here you had a wonderful conservative who was totally abandoned by the party. And I never understood. Barb, if I may be frankly honest with you, I always wondered, why am I the only guy in this country talking about Scott Walker? Why is the Republican Party not? I mean, they've got the blueprint right there. Here's a guy who has taken them on. They tried to destroy him, his family, his life, his career. He beat him back 3 different times. Where is the Republican Party heralding this guy? They never did.
You are right about that. And that is another point I'm upset with about the Republican Party.
But I did, Barb. I did. But at some point, I'm not running. I can't go on the debate stage and speak for these people. And I can't go out on the campaign trail with them.
I know.
And the whole thing with Governor Walker distresses me too.
Yes.
In ways that you can't imagine. Mm-hmm. I think this points up some of the challenges with this whole electoral process we've got. You've got to be good on TV. You've got to be dynamic. You've got to be forceful. You've got to be good TV. I'm not saying he's not. But what I'm saying is it takes much more than just being substantively right on things, obviously. That's what's frustrating, that it takes more than that. How many great people are not ever going to get a chance because they just can't pass muster on TV or within the confines of competition out there in things that are not political? But you can't cry about that. It's what it is. It's what our system is.
So perfect. He would be the best president ever because he does what he says. I'm just grieving today. I'm sick about it.
I know a lot of people are. People on his campaign team are. I mean, some people found out about somebody's team were not even told in advance. They found about it.
Can I ask you one other thing about Donald Trump?
Yeah, ask me whatever you want to ask me, Barb. Ask me anything. No secrets here.
Well, do you think he could possibly be helping Hillary? Because, like I said, the only way she can win is to divide the Republican Party this time. And since he only bashes the other Republicans, could he be working for her? Oh, boy, we'll get these people voting for Trump, and they're not going to vote for the real candidate, which, by the way, I do not want Jeb Bush to be the candidate.
Who do you want now if it's not Governor Walker?
I like Carly Fiorina. I like Ben Carson.
Carly Fiorina was on TV last night dumping all over Ben Carson. And you got to be very careful there, Barb. You got to be I'm kind of out of time here. I don't mean to be provocative like that. I got to go. But Carly Fiorina is on the Tonight Show last night, and she said that Ben Carson is wrong about a Muslim president and that Trump is like Vladimir Putin. Yeah, we got that coming up and other stuff as well. Be right back. Don't go away, folks.